This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the post-lunch session. Um the speaker for this session will be Dr. D.S. Sani, sir. Dr. D.S. Sani, sir, has 14 years of experience at JP in University Solon, then 6 years at CCT Chandigarh, and a total of 21 years of teaching experience. He has supervised 6 PhD students, 15 MTech students, and 5 PhD supervisions are currently ongoing. He has published research papers in IEEE Transactions, IET, elsewhere, Springer Journals, and is currently at the CCT Dean Academics, the HOD of the Electronics and Communication Engineering Department at CCT, and the President of IIC, etc. Today, sir will be speaking about 5G, requirements, concepts, challenges, and applications. We welcome you, sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ashi and Shilpa. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Is size okay, or should I let me try it in the slide mode? Is it okay
Sir, both
now?
ways it's okay. Yeah, both ways it's okay, sir.
Right. So, I welcome all the participants once again. So, I am going to give a talk on 5G requirements, concepts, challenges, and applications. This is the content which I am going to deliver. First, why 5G is required, vision of 5G, then requirements, major challenges in 5G, and how 5G differs compared to rest. That means the nearest competitor 4G, then 3G, then 2G. And we'll see these challenges in terms of spectrum change, technology change, hardware, software requirements, etc. And these three topics will be having further subdivisions accordingly. Then finally, after all the discussion, I'll give you few of the applications of 5G. To start with, let's say why 5G is required. Right, if you see this very simple slide, we are at extreme right side of this. Okay, the year 2021 is running, which is supposed to be the target of 5G, right? And if you look from beginning 80s to 2020, in every decade, a one generation of wireless and mobile communication comes. So So first three are obviously quite, you can say, explored. Everything is well written there. And in India, for example, we are currently in 4G. If you look at this fourth component here, better known as LTE, right? 3.9G, 4G, all these are the names of this LTE. Then LTE Advanced also was there. You call it sometimes 4.5G also. Then later on LTE Advanced Pro also came, right? So first three need not to have any discussion required here, just to know this thing. 1G was purely analog, then digital was introduced in 90s. Then 2000 3G came, right? And the major thing in 3G was basically broadband. People focused over here on the data rate. The data rate was very, very large compared to 1G and 2G. When it comes 4G, which is around year 2010, so data was quite enhanced, okay, and it was faster. It is called as mobile broadband, right? So many more capabilities were added to 4G, and 4G is well, you can say, spread all over the world, and even 5G started to be implemented in many countries. In fact, research is already being started about 6G, and it is a target that by 2025, 5G will, 6G also will start into the implementation stage. So we are at this particular thing here. So we are going to see what are the changes, mostly with respect to 4G. What were the shortcomings of 4G, whether they were removed or not, and parallelly when it comes to 5G, so many things added were added. If you look at the inventions going on currently, innovations going on currently, three four main topics are booming, since few years now. It has been Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, right? Embedded system. So what is happening is actually electronics and communication is more actually integrated into computer science. So 2020, where 5G is coming into the implementation stage, still there are some shortcomings which are day by day overcome by so many companies. Uh, More and more computer science areas also merges there. Like you already probably are aware of cloud, etc. If you talk about 3G, 4G base stations, they were completely infrastructure based, hardware based. But because of the availability of cloud, right, everything is start being shifted towards the software domain. You used to call it SDN sometimes, software defined network. Sometimes you used to call it VFN, virtual function networks. So everything is going to be virtualized, because when it comes to 5G, everything is software based. Although it's not completely possible to shift into the software domain, uh, because of the one of the major requirement of 5G. One of the major requirement of 5G we'll see subsequently is latency. Very small latency has to be there. When device to device communication takes place, it has to be 1 millisecond at the max, or 2 millisecond, not beyond that. So to have such a device to device latency, we want most of the functions as close as possible to the, you can say, tower. Towers are, for example, in 5G you used to call it macros. So because of that functionality which is required near to the tower, near to our base station, then we cannot move everything towards the cloud. So obviously some part remains in the cloud and some part remains in the end macros also. So those are the few of the changes we'll see. So just to remember, no discussion will be done in my subsequent slide up to 3G. The discussion will be, part of the discussion will be 4G enhancement, then what exactly is happening into 5G. Even 5G, not everything is fully explored by the time of this presentation. So many things are going on. 5 and 5.5G is also parallelly going on, and people are starting to target towards 6G. So everything will be discussed subsequently, right? So now Just look at this slide, which is only focused towards 3G, 4G, or 5G in a bit of detail. Now we are in 5G, we are around this period of time where release 17 and beyond of third generation partnership project has been uh, established, right? So currently 17, 18, 19 such releases researchers are working on. And in 4G, for example, 4G, which started traditionally from, you can say LTE, right? Then LTE Advanced and LTE Advanced Pro. All the 4G comes under the, you can say, category IMT Advanced. 3G was IMT 2000 because it came in year 2000. That was International Mobile Telecommunication 2000. But 4G is IMT Advanced. When it comes to 5G, you used to call it IMT 2020. So about 5G, it all started, the research actually, research has been started from 2015, but vision already being started in 2012. And if you look at all the three figures here, the one organization worldwide called as Third Generation Partnership Project kept on working on these generations, right? Although you know, if you are aware of 3GPP2 was there, that was not, you can say, it was not going into that success mode. So that's why people went only towards Third Generation Partnership Project. So 13, 14, 15, 16 all have been, you can say, kind of matured by the time this presentation is made. So we are into release 17 of 5G. We are talking about IMT 2020, International Mobile Telecommunication 2020. So about this IMT 2020, the first release came in year 2020, and it is expected that next 5 years it's going to be all 5G time. And by the 2025 time, 5G is going to be fully implemented worldwide, and some part of 6G also will start coming, right? So now, why 5G? Basically, there are three key requirements of current generation of all fields, whether it's computer science, whether mechanics, robotics. There are currently three major requirements. One is number of connections. Number of connections are required in 5G and beyond. Okay, it has to be 1 million per kilometer squares. So as you can see here, almost everybody is having a mobile device. So this connection may be people, it may be machines, it may be robots, houses, buildings. So per kilometer square, 1 million connections are required. But in 4G, it's not up to that point yet. 4G target was, you can say, around 100K, right? So it is around 100 to 1000 times smaller in 4G. So one thing which was targeted when 4G was fully implemented, that 5G will be definitely look into the number of connections. So 1 million per kilometer square connection has to be there. Then latency, I just told you, latency, device to device communication, time taken by two devices when they connect to each other should be less than 1 millisecond. Reason because 5G ultimately look for applications towards traffic control, healthcare, right? And you can say home to home communication. Such communication required very least latency. And can you imagine, for example, in one of the Indian city, a lot of cars are moving one after the other with the help of, you can say, without any driver. It's a driverless traffic going on. If such is a scenario, let's say one of the vehicle apply brake, then all other vehicle has to respond in a very short time. That is what is the latency. That latency has to be less than 1 millisecond. So in all vehicle to vehicle communications or machine to machine communication, one of the important requirement is latency. So that is the second target of 5G. Third target is speed. Speed is always one issue when you move from one generation to other. Speed is definitely increased. So here also, whatever speed of 4G, 4G started with the speed of 1 Gbps. like LTE or LTE Advanced, they were designed to have a speed of 1 Gbps. Then LTE Advanced Pro came, which is one of the advanced 4G version, which gave the speed of 3 Gbps. But the target speed of 5G is 10 gigabits per second. And 10 gigabits per second when it's a static traffic, when not too much mobility is there. So these are the few requirements. To achieve this requirement, it's not that easy anyway. We'll see subsequently, because as the number of connections are increasing to a very, very large extent, we need to have very large macros or base stations. To have very large macros, then obviously interference, frequency ranges, noise, these also comes into the picture. So all these will be discussed in the subsequent slide. So these three are the major requirements. In addition to that, some other requirement is like reliability we need. Security issue is there. One of the, you can say, in the first versions of 5G, the problem is in the security. When people look to design 6G, when they are making vision of 6G, important target is how the security of the devices has to be improved. So that also will be part of our discussion. But our discussion is not pure technical, right? I'll touch various topics, but not go into the details of a particular, you can say, topic. Then, if you look at the gaps, why 4G itself is not sufficient to handle current applications has been presented in this slide. If you look at LTE, for example, at the bottom part of the slide, five parameters have been mentioned here: latency, throughput, number of connections, mobility, and architecture. LTE, if I start from the left portion here, LTE has latency 30 to 50 millisecond. It was supposed to be very large when LTE was invented, but whatever happened in last 5 to 10 years, in almost every industry, every sector of business, so even that 30 to 50 millisecond is considered to be a large latency. That has to be reduced by amount 30 to 50 times. So 30 to 50 times gap is there in the latency, which is the target of 5G. Then 100 Mbps was the speed of LTE in the beginning. I mentioned just now 1 Gbps, but practically 1 Gbps is not achievable for both uplink and downlink. So average figure, if you take out, it's around 100 Mbps, but we want 10 Gbps per connection. So 100 times speed has to be increased. Similarly, number of connection has to be 100 times more whatever it was in LTE. Similarly, speed, the vehicles moving at 350 kilometer per hour. That was a upper limit of uh, when the connection can be maintained in 4G, and that has to be increased further to 500 kilometer per hour in case of 5G. Then this is very important part. This is nowhere, you can say, as such touched in 4G. I just touched a topic called cloud, right? Cloud is basically resource sharing by multiple parties spread in different areas. That was not there in LTE. So that is one of the thing which has been a major component of 5G. You try to shift most of the hardware components towards the software and into the core network. Core network of 4G was not cloud. It was trying to approach towards cloud, but it was not purely cloud. And you know that if you have some knowledge of cloud computing, when you have systems on cloud, then it is very easy to share all the softwares, all the functions by different access points, different servers, different users, which are located at a very large distance from each other. Okay, this is called basically software defined network function virtualization, also slicing. Slicing means different companies, for example, they can have their own share of slice. If a particular company, new company has been established, They do not want to have complete hardware. They do not want to spend a, a huge amount of money. They can directly borrow some set of established software and hardware from the cloud. And so many, you can say, sellers are there on the cloud. For example, Amazon, Google, they used to sell their own well established softwares and hardwares. So they, every company, every industry used to get their own slice portion from the cloud, which can be used. So this is, you can say, revolution when it comes to 5G. And as I just said, 5G has been implemented in various countries, even in India, it has been started, but not this portion has been reached in different countries. So a lot of research is going on, and when people talk about moving towards 6G, it is especially this area where so much research is going on. Slicing and virtualization, cloud, right? And parallel to cloud, there is other term also. You used to call it, for example, edge computing. And if you have some idea of edge computing and cloud, they are basically having contradicting requirements. You move something towards edge to reduce latency, which is our first requirement here. When you move most of the circuitry or most of the hardware software at the edge where users are located, then processing of that data is very, very small. Latency becomes extremely small. But problem is then resource sharing is minimum in that. The target of cloud was you want to share resource as much as you can. So you have this contradicting requirement. Depending upon what application you are looking for, you can either opt for pure edge computing or pure cloud-based components or in between mixed components. So these are the 4 5 things which 5G was focused on, and research has been done in almost every aspect. But if you could pick any one application, may not be all the five requirements are essential. For example, if I take example of you can say broadband. Broadband is only focused about throughput. It doesn't bother about how much latency of the application is, how much you can say connections are there. Okay, that is a different area. There you can compromise latency. But when you look at the application like healthcare or traffic monitoring, robotics, where robots are used to handle different complicated functions in a very time bound manner, then their latency matters. They do not bother about speed because the command received by a particular robot may be yes or no only, whether to do something or to not to do something. So data is not a huge which is shared between robot and controller, but their latency matters. Similarly, connections also is one of the thing. Connections, if you talk about typical mall or dense area where there are large number of people, very large number of people in a very small area, how to handle them all with huge data requirement, that is a different application. There obviously you need to have more cells there, more macros there, more base stations, and accordingly the thing later on we'll see a back haul front haul has to be refined also, right? Backhaul, we used to say a term when your, let's say, macro send the signal back towards the core network. Mostly core network is on the cloud. In mobile and wireless communication, core network is the one where most of the network functions are placed. Then there is a other major area called RAN, random access network. You can say RAN, radio access network. So that is towards the tower. And when the tower, how the tower is connected to the core network, you call it a backhaul. Up to 4G, most of the backhauls are wired through optical fibers. Even our cloud, all the communication within the cloud is through optical fibers. But when it comes to, you can say, today's tower, where your basement unit and your radio resource head, these two components are placed to at the tower, then from that point onwards towards the, you can say, core network, that connection which was traditionally optical fiber based, that can be made wireless also in 5G. How we can make that thing wireless? Because 5G provides you better spectrum and higher data rate. It's always very difficult to match the data rate of optical fibers, but 5G gives us option that you can transmit at very high speed. But obviously, you know one thing, when you move up in the frequency domain, when you increase the carrier frequency, the range is becoming low and low. So range wise, there is an issue. So, but we have the facility at least to transmit at high data rate. So in 5G, both wireless and wired backhauls are there. That option is there because sometimes it is difficult to establish wired connection. We prefer their wireless connection. So that is, you can say, there is no connectivity issue in 5G. If wired connection is available, you go for it. Otherwise, you go for wireless. And in wireless also, multiple options later on we'll see. Okay, wireless, for example, it can be licensed also, like in our 2G, 3G, or some part of 4G. Most of the mobile communication is, you can say, it is wireless, and it is licensed. But 5G target towards unlicensed band also. You need not to have any license. This is how our Wi-Fi's work. When you install Wi-Fi at any particular place, you need not to have any license. 5G is working towards that thing. So that means in 5G, both licensed communication will keep on working along with the unlicensed band simultaneously. But before 3G or some portion of 4G, these two were different altogether. Either you have licensed bands or you have unlicensed bands. But 5G onwards, you can say 5G or 6G, they are going towards a situation where Wi-Fi is going to end because there is no license condition in future, right? So how that whole thing is possible? Because of the new bands which were added to 5G. That all will be discussed subsequently. Now, if you look at, we are here now 5G. I just told you that when it was 3G 4G, research was ongoing in wireless LAN category also, so many other things. Then industry also, so much research was going on. Today's industry, you call it industry 4, right? There are different generations in industry also. So current generation is industry 4 revolution. So when it comes to 5G, everything is merged. So there is no distinction, you can say, in terms of mobile, in terms of Wi-Fi, in terms of handling industries, everything is merged. And this is a reason there is no distinction in terms of telecommunication or computer science or IoT or embedded, everything has been merged. Okay. So it is a global unified standard for 5G. Now, some of the key capabilities of 5G or IMT 2020, which were defined by International Telecommunication Union, has been listed here. Both the figures are almost same. If I start from the left side, you can say there are 7 to 8 different things which 5G try to improve compared to 4G and 3G. IMT 2020 is for 5G, IMT Advanced is for 4G. This is comparison only between 4G, 5G. So in 5G, if I start from the top portion, which is more towards the data rate. If you look at here, the traffic capacity is 10 times more. Sorry, sorry. So, and peak data rate is, you can say, it is 20 times more than 4G, and user experience data rate is 100 times better. Spectrum efficiency is 3 times. Now, meaning of spectrum efficiency means whatever carrier bandwidth or channel bandwidth was available in 4G, we have the option of combining those carriers. So 3 carriers can be aggregated. That is one of the again important evolution in 5G. Carrier aggregation, that also will be dealt. So there was no carrier aggregation in 4G, which is a new concept in 5G. Then mobility, which was 350 in 4G, it has been improved to 500. Then latency 10 millisecond to 1 millisecond in 5G, and connection density was, you can say, 1 lakh in 4G, and it has been increased to 1 million in case of 5G. So 10 times increase in connection density, 10 times reduction in latency, 100 times energy efficient it is. Okay, so these are very easy to make out also, because 5G and 6G cells, for example, they are supposed to be very small, because you move up in the frequency. We are about to see now, the frequencies in 5G are very high. When you move up in the frequency, range of signal becomes weak and weak, and your data rate becomes very high, right? So data rate becomes very high, and power required by the base station is very small. That's why you call it energy efficient. So once you charge your mobile or any device, for example, and you work on 5G, it's going to last for a long time. The reason is the signal which has been sent from the device, when it is moved towards a wireless medium, it requires very small power. That's why it is the requirement is energy efficient. The requirement of energy efficiency can be easily achieved. So you can see the middle portion, which is shown with the white color, that was about 4G, and this polygon which is shown here, the extreme edges are what is the target of 5G. And mostly out of all these 7 to 8 parameters, the important parameter which 5G focused was listed here in 3 different colors, shades. The one is enhanced mobile broadband. First 3 to 4 component towards this side, you can say top left side, they all are related to data rate. You call it enhanced mobile broadband. That has been quite high. Then other is, you can say, massive machine type communication. Massive machine type, whether it's vehicle to vehicle communication, device to device communication, device to everything, vehicle to everything. Sometimes you see such terms, V2V, V2X. V2X means vehicle to everything. Then D2X, device to everything. Okay, X to V, everything to vehicle. So such type of terms are used in 5G. So that is also one of the important requirement of 5G, which has been achieved by various technologies, right? So connection density is very large. Then other is low latency plus reliability. You call it ultra reliable, low latency communication. It is one of the target of 5G. So obviously the application I told you, traffic application, healthcare application, right? In healthcare, for example, when let's say operation is going on with the patient, and there is a very, you can say, precision is required in terms of time, also in terms of accuracy also. So not only reliability, latency also matter. So such applications are coming under this portion. Okay, so this cover healthcare, this cover your traffic conditions, this also cover your, you can say, dense areas, a particular military applications where the information is very secure. Okay, reliability is important there. So these are the requirements of 5G or IMT 2020. Okay. Now you can say two things are going on parallelly basically when it comes to 5G. What is pure 5G started from scratch. Other is 5G using the infrastructure of 4G. If you look at the history of all mobile and wireless communications, when any generation come, it is, although we you can say the research is done basically on the individual generation, but we start picking whatever good things are from the previous generation. Same was the thing which was done in 5G also. So many good functions of 4G has been picked, and from that 4.5G came, then some enhancement of that has been done, and it is called evolution of 4G towards 5G. Then other thing is revolution. What exactly is a new part which has been added? New part, I told you we have added in 5G. What has been added, you can say the things have been shifted towards cloud also, towards edge also as per application. That is new thing. Second is carrier aggregation was uh, introduced here, where multiple carriers can be used for the same person to increase data rate, same user or same device to increase the data rate. That was second thing. Similarly, new multiplexing methods were introduced, new orthogonal mechanism was introduced. If you people are aware of 4G or LTE, the thing which were common there like OFDM, MIMO, right, those were changed. OFDM was used here. Then OFDM was it was very much successful in 4G, 4.5G, but it was later on find out when it comes to 5G, where we have a specific set of requirement. Even OFDM has to be refined. So that new enhancement of OFDM is done, which has been placed in 5G. That also will be discussed shortly. So basically 5G all started after release 13 in year 2015 onwards. But parallelly 4G kept on evolving every year, and whatever we are claiming these days when it comes to India, for example, we say that our phone is having 5G capability. We are basically using enhanced version of 4G. 5G as such is not at all there in Indian phones currently. So because standalone 5G, it required complete setup at various locations, that is not being yet fully done. So it will be done very shortly anyway. And also parallelly 5G is along with 5G, 6G also has been running in some areas, not in India, but in other research has been started in 6G. So such things will always keep working parallelly, evolution as well as revolution, right? Now, after that, we'll see some of the challenges now here. Now, first of all, let's come to how 5G all actually is a bit different than 4G. If you look at these frequency spectrums, these are quite familiar, you people are with the different bands. When you talk about, for example, 2G, 3G, we all were there around 1 gigahertz or 2 gigahertz. Most of the communication was done here. And that band is basically, you say it's a microwave frequency. We used to call it microwave. Frequencies beyond, let's say 300 megahertz onwards up to whatever frequency, all the frequencies overall are called microwaves. And in that, especially ultra high frequency band was used for mobile communication, right? But in 5G, along with this band, 2G, 3G, 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz, etc., which are already well established band for, you can say, 3G and 4G. They can be used as such. In addition to that, couple of more bands were added. One band is around 5 gigahertz. So you can say these are also IEEE bands. The name, you can see such names are mentioned in different books in a different manner. IEEE names such bands as L, S, C, X, KU, K, KA, different bands. So starting from, you can say, C portion, this particular band, 4 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, that band is called sub 6 gigahertz. Sub 6 gigahertz is a new band which is added for 5G. It is new band, or you can say new radio. Different portions you mention, you will find out such term. New radio 1. Then other radio is actually added somewhere here. 30 gigahertz, 35 gigahertz, or 40 gigahertz. Around this portion, second new band was added. So we have multiple bands, you can see, in 5G. 5G new band is there. If you recall Wi-Fi, if you have some idea of Wi-Fi like 802.11 or WiMAX, etc., those were working on 5 gigahertz already, and those bands were license free. No license was required for that. License was only required for bands of 2 gigahertz, 1 gigahertz, where our GSM or starting LTEs were working. So what is happening actually when it comes to 5G? We have licensed band also, unlicensed unlicensed band here at around 5 gigahertz, then second unlicensed band around 30 gigahertz. So communication is typically integrated in terms of bands, license free band and licensed band. Both the communications are done parallelly. Unlike 4G, where it has to be either purely licensed or purely unlicensed, you can have mixed bands here. You start some communication, let's say, and in between, let's say, some other person required a band. Then that person may be given a band from the unlicensed spectrum. But obviously, unlicensed spectrum, if you look at this figure here, they are more towards higher frequency. When they are more towards higher frequency, then obviously the range is going to be less. So range is going to be less. You cannot handle that thing for all application. In one of the application which I mentioned previously, like dense areas, where the number of connections are 1 million per kilometer square, it is purely a dense area. In that dense area, range has to be very small, doesn't matter. So we can have these high bands available there. But when it comes to rural areas, or when the separation of different macros is half a kilometer or 200 meters, 300 meters, you can have licensed band. So we have more bands availability, right? So that is the major distinction between 3G, 4G, 5G in terms of band. We started adding license-free bands also in 5G. So, and especially I just said the band above 30 gigahertz, 30 to 30, 40 gigahertz, although it is given quite a large band here up to 300 gigahertz, but that is not yet used in 5G. 5G is only focused towards 30 gigahertz up to 40, 45 gigahertz, not more than that. Reason is when you move up in the frequency, the range wise you suffer. But 60 is targeting even these bands, because the number of connections are increasing. Data rate requirement are more and more day by day. So all these bands can be used. Important thing about these bands is that they are almost interference free. Means if one frequency used for one user, and same frequency can be used for second user after even, you can say, 20-30 meters, because there is no interference. The signal is so weak, it's not able to travel for long distance. Unlike this portion of the spectrum, this portion, which is around ultra high frequency or very high frequency portion, if you look at here, uh, you can see here range is large. Your signal can traverse like kilometer also, right? So when signal has to you can say traverse a kilometer, more power has to be emitted from the transmitter. So you can say energy, higher energy is required. So it is clear now, when you move in this band from left side to right side, power requirements are less in the right side, more bandwidth is there in the right side, but more infrastructure is also required. That is a drawback, you can see. Because I just said, if you install a, you can say, eNode B or macro in 5G, its range is only few meters, 20-30 meters. So to cover entire range, you should have large number of macros. So large number of macros, so more infrastructure. But fortunately, you need not to give very large power to each of the macro. Power is less because range is less. Because of the impact of one macro on other is fading quickly, so we can have, you can say, multiple macros placed in groups, right? So multiple macros can be placed in closed groups, clustering. So clustering can be done. So clustering was possible in 5G. It was not there in 4G. Clustering of macros, clustering of, you can say, base stations. Okay, just it is, you can say, connected to the previous slide. If you look at four major components in different generations, up to 4G, if you look at cell size, I just said when you move up in the generation or up in the frequency, 5G is higher in frequency, so its cell size is less than 50 meters. On the other hand, cell sizes in 3G or 4G were up to 2 kilometer. So cell size reduces. When cell size reduces, more hardware is required, obviously. Speed is also increasing. You can have a speed of 10 to 100, you can say, gigabits per second here. Bandwidth, it is in fact megahertz, not gigahertz. Bandwidth in megahertz, single channel bandwidth was less than 100 megahertz, right? But in case of 5G, in the initial part of 5G, or you can say the concluding part of 4G, the bandwidth was increased, which was less than 100 megahertz. It was increased to 100 plus. How? Because carrier aggregation was possible. I told you earlier, if you aggregate carrier for the same user, multiple carriers are used, then you have more data rate possibility. So that is there in the beginning. And in 5G supplementary spectrum, you can have large number of aggregation possible. Multiple carriers can be aggregated. So bandwidth is very large, very large than 100 megahertz. Data rate is very large, and you can see here frequency band also. This was a band for all previous generations. In 5G, new band was added, 3G, 4G around that time, around that frequency. Then there is other band added around 30 gigahertz. There is other band somewhere in between 60 to 90. It's not yet fully, I can say, operational, but it is still on the cards. When it is going to be 5G maturity time, or starting of 6G time, this also will be going to be used. Okay. And there are multiple new things there in 5G, like coordinated shared access. This was not there in 4G. Coordinated shared access means, up to 4G, what was happening, if a particular channel is used by a user, and that user is going to occupy that channel all time. But in 5G, always different devices keep monitoring a channel. When a channel is free for, let's say, some milliseconds, then that device can grab that channel and use it. So it's a dynamic access or shared access. You call it coordinated access. This coordination is possible because you have so many macros in 5G, so it's easy to coordinate. Such facilities was not there in 4G. Coordination was not possible because we were not having that many macros. But now so many connections there, so many macros there, so you can say we can have easily coordination possible between different devices, and that helps us for shared access, better use of the, you can say, spectrum. So carrier aggregation, obviously, I gave it is one of the benefit. Now, this slide also is, I can say, I just explained that when you have smaller frequency, for example, very first 2G, 3G kind of mobiles were using 900 megahertz band. Their range was smaller. If it's a typical tower, its range was large. When frequency was increased to 2.1 gigahertz, range becomes smaller. So obviously there is a direct, you can say, inverse relation between range and frequency. Frequency high, range smaller. And similarly, you can say high frequency, smaller range, so less number of people are accommodated there. Low frequency, broader range, so more number of people are there, so bigger cells are there. And also when you work on higher frequency, then those frequencies are not able to penetrate buildings or any medium even water, it is difficulty to penetrate water also at high frequency. But low frequencies easily penetrates buildings. Signal may be weak anyway when signal is passed through a building or multiple mediums, but it can penetrate that. So that is obviously the limitation. So range wise, 5G suffers, but that doesn't matter because we have so many, in future we'll having so many macros installed almost everywhere. So range is not an issue. Issue is how everybody is connected. So infinite connectivity is the requirement. Infinite connectivity is possible only uh, when there are macros everywhere, when there are controllers everywhere, right? Now these are the few cells in 5G, right? Like in 4G or close to 1 gigahertz, we used to represent a base station like this. You used to call it macros. Then when you move from 1 gigahertz towards sub 6 gigahertz band, cells becomes very small. It's a bigger cell, it has a bigger range. Now cells become smaller, so you have a combination of macros. Bigger macro means bigger cell and small cells. When you move up in the second new band, which is close to 30 gigahertz or 40 gigahertz, you call it millimeter band, then cells are extremely small. You have only small cells. We do not require any macros at all, but practically we require macros still for handling a specific set of application, but mostly users will be handled by the small cells. So now let's see now a bit of concepts mentioned in the release 16 or 17 or 18, which is supposed to be coming in year or so, release 17, 18. That gives us what are the new things in 5G. Release 15, which is the, you can say, when 5G research started. Okay, these couple of years, 17, 18, 19, 5G actually started here, but not fully explored. Some limitations were observed, then which has been tried to be rectified 2020 onwards in 17, 18. That is being depicted in this particular slide. So in here, release 15, it has been mentioned that the new frequency range called as frequency range 1 was added is sub 6 gigahertz. Second frequency range called frequency range 2 was added from 24.2 gigahertz up to 52.6 gigahertz, right? It was added in release 15. Then uplink and downlink. See, most of the previous generations up to 4G, we always used to mention a band. And when we mention a band, then uplink and downlink are very close to each other. But that has been now changed in the new 5G thing. Uplink can be in 1 gigahertz frequency also, and downlink can be in 3 gigahertz frequency. That is called as decoupling. Uplink and downlink decoupling is common in 5G. So if you ask the reason for this, we know that uplink is basically done from your devices, so which are having less capability compared to the macros. Macros are having very high capabilities. So to save the battery power of the users devices, they are supposed to send signal to large distance. Okay, you may be at remote site, but macros are always fixed. In a typical city, for example, macros are having fixed location, but you being an end user or sitting in a vehicle, or when you talk about industry in the remote area, so all these actually they should send signal at low frequency, because when the signal is sent at low frequency, the coverage is more. So that's why for more coverage, we use low frequency kind of 1 gigahertz. For, you can say, lesser coverage or high data rate, which are the requirements mostly of macros, you use higher frequency. Higher frequency may be of sub 6 gigahertz or maybe of 30 gigahertz, that kind, right? Then there is a split called as, you can say, central unit and distributed unit. This is also a new thing which has been given. Central unit is basically related to the upper layers of, you can say, any model. If you pick mobile model or even network model, upper layers like application layers or transportation layer, such layers are basically using this, you can say, comes under this category central unit. Distributed unit comes under lower layers like MAC layer or physical layer. So that splitting is there in release 15. Then release 15, because it was in the beginning of 5G, then two options were there for 5G. It is standalone. Standalone means 5G as a single entity. It do not require help of any 4G. That is standalone 5G. Non-standalone 5G means 5G is taking help of 4G. So in the beginning, 2015, 16, 17, around that time, it was mostly non-standalone type of 5G. But when it comes to 19 or 20, implementation or research, everything this onwards is going to be standalone. So it does not depend upon the existing 4G or previous to that architectures. Okay, in this duration between 15 to 25, 6 years, to have a complete change, it was difficult to have, right, the complete infrastructure change. That's why the enhancement of 4G was done. But now in 2021 going on, maximum things have been already done in 5G. So standalone 5G is ready. May not be in every country, but in some of the developed countries where a lot of research is happening in wireless area, mobile area, then standalone 5G is working, right? But 4G will keep existing for some time. 4G means advanced version of 4G, like advanced 4G advanced, LTE advanced. You call it LTE advanced also, LTE plus also, LTE Advanced Pro also. So most close to 5G is LTE Advanced Pro, where the latency can be up to 3 millisecond. 5G target was 1 millisecond latency, but LTE Advanced Pro standard that gives the latency of 3 millisecond. But anyway, 5G has many new things, as I told you earlier, like software defined networking, clouds and virtualization. So, right. So release 16, 17, 18 is purely towards 5G without any help of 4G. So what exactly is there here? New radio is introduced in this. It's vehicle to everything communication was possible. Industrial Internet of Things is possible. Now industrial Internet of Things means everything is connected. This is where our application that beginning I told you, you can say number of connections. The number of connections required is 1 million per kilometer square. Just because of IoT, we want everything to be connected, because everything has to be connected. If you pick one particular industry and there are, you can say, thousands of product there, every product you want to connect to the network. So how that will be done? That will be done using 5G, because it has the facility to have 1 million connections per kilometer square. So that is one of the application. Then ultra reliable low latency communication enhancement is 5G thing, where then we started exploring third band also, 52.6 onwards. I mentioned the first band sub 6 gigahertz band, second band is around 30 gigahertz, then 52.6 gigahertz onwards. So in release 18, for example, they are looking to explore this band also. Then 5G is efficient because of this new technology, NOMA. Okay, in the morning lecture also, the expert was discussing about NOMA. So NOMA is non-orthogonal multiple access method. Unlike OFDM or other orthogonal this thing, we have the requirement of orthogonality. But with NOMA, we can relax that requirement of orthogonality. We can have communication non-orthogonal based. So it's a big concept. A lot of research is happening here, and it is basically working on. It is basically depend upon concept of successive interference cancellation, right? That also I have one slide for that in the coming slides. So NOMA is used in 5G and beyond, even in 6G also. Mid of 5G and 6G, you call it 5.5G. There also advanced version of NOMA is going to be used. In current 5G, NOMA is not functional yet, but in future NOMA is going to be there part of 5G. When it comes standalone 5G, NOMA will be part of that. Okay, that is the meaning of standalone, non-standalone. Standalone will include NOMA. Non-standalone, which is based upon 4G, LTE plus LTE advanced, that is not having any NOMA right now. Okay, then new MIMO enhancement. Okay, as we work on higher frequency, gigahertz, 30 gigahertz, 40 gigahertz, wavelength is extremely small. Wavelength extremely small, it is very easy to pack antennas or close to each other or antenna arrays. In a small area, you can have hundreds of antenna. It is very easy to have 100 by 100 or 1000 by 1000 antennas also. And you know, MIMO, which was a concept introduced in 4G also, if you have some idea of LTE, when LTE was there, initially LTE proposed either 2 is to 2 MIMO or 4 is to 4 MIMO. Then in LTE Advanced, for example, it was enhanced to 8 by 8 up to maybe 16 by 16 also. But with 5G now, because we are working in very high frequency or very low wavelength, we can have multiple antennas close together. When you have multiple antennas close together, then beam forming is very easy. Beam forming in 4G was one directional, right? One directional means either it can be horizontal or vertical, azimuthal direction, or you can say the other direction, longitudinal direction. Okay, but here both directions are possible because we have that many antennas possible, and it is very easy to focus beam in a particular direction. And if you are able to use such smart antennas in 5G, capacity can be increased to very large value. So this is one of the reason why we are able to get very high capacity in 5G, because we have facility to use massive MIMO. MIMO which was in 4G, it becomes massive MIMO in 5G. Extremely large number of antennas or antenna arrays placed in either, you can say, grid format or mesh format. It will be shown in one of the later slide also. So that is there. MIMO enhancement is done, right? Uh, then multiple other things are also, like you call it, for example, self-organizing network. This was not there in 4G. If you have a particular network, let's say, automatically when there is not much of the data traffic, some of the macros automatically go into the silent mode, not working at all. And or if one of the macro get out of order, and automatically some of the other nearby macro get connected to the system. So it is auto healing. In fact, self healing is there in latest 5G standards, right? Then there is other term, MDT, means you call it minimization of drive test. Means network optimization is easy in case of 5G compared to 4G. So you have good tools available for optimization. The full form of this is minimization of driving test. So whatever testing has to be done, it's very easy. You have good tools available in 5G, right? So that was about 5G. Then some of the infrastructure requirements, partially which has been dealt already though, is you can see. Let me give you one or two interesting slides here. If you look at this, it's a typical 5G network where you have 4G also. You have 4G macros. 4G macros are shown with such symbols normally, right? When it comes to 5G, it's macro. Now 5G, I told you, it can have bigger cells also, it can have smaller cells also. If I pick one of the 5G macro here, multiple panels have been shown here, like if you see here. And on these multiple panels, you have antenna arrays. When you have antenna arrays, like 1000 by 1000 or for example 2048 by 2048, it is possible to have multiple beams. And each of the beam can be focused towards a particular vehicle or particular device. So in that direction, you can have high speed transmission possible. Okay, so it is one of the important application of 5G because of massive MIMO. So 5G macros are always shown in such triangular shape. If you see the top view, which is not that apparent here. So it's a triangular shape. You have multiple panels. One panel towards right side, one panel towards left side, one panel towards the other side also can be there. So multiple panels are there, and in each of the panel, multiple beams can be originated. Each of the beam can handle different area or different user. So that is the specialization of macro. And it is a typical central server. Maybe you can say cloud. If you look at the shape of this, all these are clouds, right? When it is cloud, means whatever resources are here in this cloud, it has been shared by almost everybody. This macro also share its resources. This macro also share this also. So this cloud basically in 5G is possible because of software defined network or network function virtualization. So this was 5G macro. Similarly, 5G small cells. This lamp post can be, you can say, it can be a 5G small cell. Its coverage is very small. Its coverage is not like this. It can cover very larger range also, large number of people also, but the range of this small. So it's 5G small cell and it's 5G macro or 5G bigger cell. 4G macros anyway are biggest of all the three. So their coverage is very large. 4Gs are working in 1 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz. 5G small cells, now 5G macros, they can work on sub 6 gigahertz for example. But these devices here, I just told you their range is very small. Range very small, but extremely high data rate. That is a possibility. In which band? It is FR2, second frequency range of 5G, which is around 30 gigahertz. So you can say now that is how the 5G is connecting different things, because it's a non-standalone. There still exist 4G macros, and it's going to be there for a long time. And but individually 5G macros, purely standalone 5G is based upon such system. And if most of the processing is done here, it becomes edge computing. But I just told you it's not always required. It's required for some set of applications only where either reliability or low latency is the application. In that case, the things or processing is done at the edge, but other processing is done in the cloud. So cloud is basically more economical, but it is having more cost when it comes to edge. But latency anyway, which is essential requirement of future applications, is better handled by edge. Okay, now just look at some of 5G RAN architecture. Now if you look at this here is a typical 5G, you can say this thing. You have a user equipment here connected to, you can say, small cells, right? Small cells which are further connected to macros. That is a typical scenario. And so if you look here, there is a new interface in air interface in 5G. based upon cyclic prefix OFDM, right? Now, I just said OFDM is not that great in 5G, but when 5G first came, it picked OFDM from 4G as it is. Later on, so many refinements are done on that. So OFDM is, you people are familiar with that. OFDM is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, and MIMO becomes massive MIMO, large number of mirrors to increase bandwidth in sub 6 gigahertz band. Millimeter wave means in 30 gigahertz and beyond band, uh, provide access to broad frequency bands and higher bandwidth. Beamforming is possibility that extend a range cell for millimeter wave bands. It has less transmit time interval, right? Because of I said, if you keep things up to edge. See, if you look at this small slide here, you can do processing here also. You can do processing here also, and these towers can further connect it through optical fiber to cloud. You can do processing there also. Depending upon where processing has been done, this TTI differs. If you move everything, all the processing to edge here at this cell, that you can say small cell, then complexity of this increases, and the resource available at this you can say small cell is not shared with others. So you suffer cost wise. But if this is the only application required latency, then you don't have option. You have to go towards the edge only, right? So that has to be taken care of. Then other RAN innovations in 5G, okay, RAN stands for Radio Access Network. One is, you can say, CONP, called uh, Coordinate Multi-Point. Coordinate multi-point, for example, this figure is that coordinate multi-point means one user equipment is not only connected to one tower, it is connected to multiple towers. One, two, three, four, five, six different towers it is connected. Few of them are small cells, some of them are macros. So depending upon availability, power, its mobility, it can stay connected to any of the device. Although it is connected to many, but at one time, anyone can be active. So this is one of the new thing which is there in 5G. User equipment attached to multiple cells. Then small cell support is there. Small cell support is there. I told you smaller the cells. That means you work on higher frequency, means higher data rate. That is a possibility that is required for indoor coverage, increase cell density, self backhauling, etc. 5G new radio in unlicensed band, right? This is also new innovation. Partly I explained it earlier. Then session management split from mobility management, right? That is there. RAN slicing is there, because the things are, many of the things are on the cloud, and there is infinite resource available at cloud. So everybody can get a slice of that depending upon the requirement. So RAN slicing is there in 5G, not there. It was not there in 4G. Then device to device communication, vehicle to everything communication. Okay, such are the new RAN extensions. Now, if you look it further now, if I see in 5G, I told in the one of the earlier slide that the major revolution in 5G was softwareization of the network. Many of the hardware roles or function has been placed in softwares. So that is done. That's why the RAN in 4G was called as CRAN in standalone 5G. CRAN, sometimes you call it Cloud RAN, sometimes you call it centralized RAN. Removal of functionality from cell site to consolidation point in the network. Okay, so CRAN is becoming part of the cloud. It is becoming part of the cloud. Then this is anyway fixed infrastructure, and your CRAN is one of the part connected. 5G, 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 5 right? Then as you go away from this central cloud towards the device, that means where you are moving towards edge. You call it mobile edge computing. So this part becomes edge. So some portion of the, you can say, RAN is there. Some portion of the core network can also be placed in the small cell to reduce the latency and reliability, but not for, you can say, cost. It's not cost effective. It's not good for data also, but still it has to be required for some application. For healthcare, for robotics, we have to go towards sometimes edge computing also. So CRAN is removal of functionality from cell site to consolidation point in the network. Network function virtualization and software defined network is there, which enabling flexibility in where functions are deployed and scaled. Then mobile edge computing pushing core network function and content ingress to cell site. Okay. Then there is, you can say, CPUP split, right? CPUP is not, it is actually control plane and user plane. I told you layer wise earlier that upper layers are basically all the processing of upper layers are done in cloud, and most of the processing of lower layers is done in the edge. So accordingly, you can say user plane is here and your control plane is basically here, where all the devices can be controlled. So that is also well defined in case of release 17, 18, etc. So what exactly is inside this CPUP, it has been given in detail. Then this I have already given you that nothing new here. For example, when it comes to 5G standalone, it will be having its own core network. But when it is non-standalone, 5G is going to use 4G along with EPC is evolved packet core. If you know about 4G, that was a common term there, evolved packet core, right? So this whole path is non-standalone. This path from connection from end device to core network through only this 5G macro, it's a standalone case. And from this whole direction, when the signal is coming, it is a non-standalone. Uh, Obviously, these things I've explained. These are the new things in 5G. Software-defined networking, network function virtualization, edge computing, cloud RAN. Uh, what exactly is software-defined networking? What is software-defined networking means here? Normally, we have hardware towards the node B. Okay, you call it node B, you call it macro, you call it G node B also, E node B also. So let's call it node B, for example, for all type of generations. So the hardware which is normally available at E node B, that can be split into two components. One hardware can still be placed at the edge only. Some hardware is moved towards cloud, and that hardware which is moved towards cloud can be somehow worked based upon software. And when you work something based upon software, then the resource sharing becomes very easy, and the control of multiple hardware becomes very easy from a single controlling point. So that's the benefit of software defined networking. You try to move much of the hardware from end location towards the cloud, although it's not feasible all the time as per our requirement, but still economically that is preferred. But as I told you, for latency case, for reliability case, it's not working that way. So that is software defined networking. We want hardware to be programmable, shift away from static manual operation towards to fully configurable and dynamic. And we want centralized control of policies. there has to be a single controller who should be controlling all the possibilities, all the functions of the network. So that is only possible because if you move most of the function towards the core network or cloud, right? So it is again this NFV and software defined network, they are interlinked basically. This term is more used towards the computer science. The previous term is more used towards the communication or telecommunication. But thing is same. When it comes to network function virtualization, most of the function which are available around the macro, that is controlled by the cloud, right? And all the software here, you can see the software, any cloud has some hardware part, some software part. These software parts can be controlled by the centralized server. So all the functions are virtualized. You make a cloud and the capacity is created on demand. So it's a very efficient resource sharing. That means the software defined networking and NFV will be the part of future generations also. And 5G and beyond, 6G also, 5.5G, this is going to be there all the time, right? Edge computing is contrary to what was there in previous two slides. Sometimes we want things to go towards edge because of own reasons, because of benefit of reliability, latency, right? So it also is a possibility in 5G, right? And you see now a bit of, this is about Cloud RAN. If you look at typical tower here, any typical tower, whether it's 4G or 3G, it has two components. The component which is at the top, you call it remote radio head. And that component is connected to a fixed setup at the bottom of the tower. And that is connected through a wire. And it all depends how much processing you do at this basement unit. When you want to make system economical, you want to shift most of the component in the basement unit towards the cloud or towards the center. So this structure is basically in blocks. It has been shown here. That means in the tower it is resource radio head followed by through wired connection to the basement unit. Then that is connected to the EPC. That was done in 4G. But in 5G, we try to move this basement unit as much as possible towards the cloud. You see, what is left in the tower? Only radio resource head. So now we have three towers here, three basement units. It is possible to share this basement unit with the fourth tower also, fifth tower also, because some of the tower may be silent for a particular time. So we have saved some hardware, you can say. We have saved hardware also, and it's that's why it's cost effective also. But problem is that because of this extra line, and propagation time is more when you want to send signal from this tower, so that much path has to be traversed, and that adds to latency. If this portion would have been here, right, then latency can be reduced further. So that's why the benefits are compromised somehow. Depending upon application, we can have one benefit, different application, different benefit. So centralized basement processing is done in cloud. Need to carry high bitrate signal from A to D conversion from tower to cloud site. Okay. Then optical fiber. See, I just said this basically was optical fiber in 4G. It is still optical fiber in 5G partially. This line or even this line from RRH to BBU, this can be made wireless. Why? Because now when it comes to 5G, we have added new frequency ranges, new frequency bands. And those bands range is small, only 100 meters, 200 meters, and their capacity is very large. So they can transmit in gigabits per second, although they do not match the capacity of optical fiber, which is in terabits per second, and not accuracy of that, but still you have the option. If wired communication is not possible, you can have wireless connection. So this is backhaul where wireless as well as wired connection is possible. Okay. Uh, this one is, you can say this line is backhaul, and this line from basement unit to RRH, it is front haul. So यहाँ पे जो ये this is line, if you look at this line here, so this is a, you can say, front haul. This line is backhaul. So this front haul can be made wired or wireless. Even backhaul can also be made wireless. And the front haul wireless can be in different band. The backhaul wireless can be in different band, right? So that is a possibility in Cloud RAN. Now, just about think about decoupling now. Decoupling, I told you that unlike 4G, where you have, for example, uplink and downlink both in the same band. In 5G, it is possible that uplink can be in the different frequency, downlink can be in the different frequency. If you look at this figure, downlink is at 3.5 gigahertz, uplink at 1.8 gigahertz. Because the power of this end device is not that large compared to the power available with the tower. So tower, if even if tower is sending at higher frequency, it can increase its power, but on the other hand your mobile station or end device is not able to produce very large power. So deep coupling of uplink and downlink is possible in 5G. Now I'll quickly in next 5 to 10 minutes I'll wind it up. I'm only going to touch this, not into detail. The new radio multiplexing technologies which are used for 5G, one is spectred filter OFDM, then filtered bank multi-carrier. See, I told you 4G only uses OFDM, but here 5G uses spectrum filtered OFDM. Whenever I talk about 5G now, I'll talk about standalone 5G. I'll not talk about non-standalone 5G. So in standalone 5G, it is filtered OFDM, filtered bank multi-carrier option is there, non-orthogonal multiple access is there, and low density spreading is there, sparse CDMA, interleaved multiple access. These are the concepts which are used. Let me explain a couple of them in quick time. First of all, traditional 4G OFDM was having problem. It was having cyclic prefix or guard bands. That is a wastage of band. That's why we have to avoid that. And all the sub carriers were having the same frequency. That was a limitation of OFDM. But in 5G, carrier aggregation is a possibility. When you have carrier aggregation as a possibility, so in that case, you want to avoid that limitation of same subcarrier. You can have a different subcarrier bandwidth also. Same symbol size was a requirement. So all these were the problem with OFDM. That's why we moved to the second this thing, spectred filter OFDM. If you look at this here, you also call it asynchronous OFDMA, where you have multiple OFDMs coexisting, unlike 4G where it was single OFDM, multiple OFDM, and different OFDM has, if you look at here, different spectrum bandwidths, right? 10 megahertz bandwidth here, 6 megahertz bandwidth here, 15 megahertz. So different spectrum bandwidths are there. So more options are available with the new OFDM. Okay. Also, one of the limitation of 4G OFDM was there were large side lobes and power leakage was there. That was completely removed in 5G with the help of filtered bank multi-carrier. So if you look at this slide here, all the side lobes which are shown in a bit, you can say faded color, has been removed in new filtered bank multi-carrier method. You have now, unlike sync waveform, you have a single pulse kind of waveform. And when you integrate different users, you look here, there is no power leakage. Okay, no sub carrier overflow. So it's a better usage of the spectrum, right? So filter is used to remove sub carrier overflow, no side lobes. Okay, Different user can have different subbands, right? Then NOMA is used. Okay, NOMA is non-orthogonal multiple access. It is very strange for people who are working in orthogonal communication. You know that when we want communication, then it has to be orthogonal. Means two signals should be perfectly differentiated among them. But NOMA is exactly opposite. Irrespective of whether they are orthogonal or not, you send signal to two different people. One of the device detect the signal, for example. Whatever it detects, it pass their detected signal to the other user. And what other user does, it subtracts the coming signal from this detected signal. So that way it is able to derive the second signal, right? So first signal also can be derived, second signal also can be derived. But they both has to cooperate. Different user has to cooperate among them. That's why cooperation among users matter in 5G. So it's not only limited to user, even if there is third user or fourth user like this, signal is first detected here, then that user pass on the information to this, then this signal is detected, both the detected signal are passed on to third user, then this user is going to detect its signal, then all three will be passed on to fourth, then it detects. So it's a bit, uh, you can say bit complex compared to traditional single signal detection, but it avoids that constraint of orthogonality among users. So it's a big constraint. So anyway, this gives you a flexibility of reception. How the users are basically doing this reception? Users are distinguished based upon their power levels. Whichever signal is having highest power received, let's say out of all this thing, most power is for this user first detect the signal. After detection, that user is going to pass on that signal to all neighbors, then neighbors subsequently start detecting their signals. Okay, so that is one important topic of 5G. A lot of research is happening here. It is still happening. It has been happening since last 5 to 10 years on this. Still, it is not fully matured, but so many refinements have been done. This is again continuation with the previous this thing. As I told you, when received signal come to one of the user, it is decoded. Then decoded signal is passed on to second user. Then that signal is decoded. Then second and one first, both the signals are passed on to third user. This way you keep on detecting signal. So that is a concept of NOMA, which ultimately is called as pattern division multiple access. Now, let me take you to beamforming. I told you already that one of the enhancement of 5G is beamforming because of availability of multiple antennas, because of high frequency, multiple users at different floors can be easily send information, very large amount of information. So both elevation direction also, azimuthal direction also, unlike 4G where it was completely one way, one direction that was. So it's also known as 3D MIMO. So MIMO in 5G is called as three-dimensional MIMO or full dimensional MIMO. Participants, are you okay? I am going to take 5 more minutes. Is that comfortable with you people? Should I continue?
Yes, sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
right.
Sir,
Only, yeah,
yes, sir, yes, sir.
I'll take only 5 minutes because I'm already, I think, 2 to 3 minutes beyond my scheduled time. So then next is carrier aggregation. I told you since beginning, it is one of the added advantage of 5G. Multiple carriers can be aggregated, and whenever multiple carriers can be aggregated, that means we have more speed options, more data rate options, right? So can aggregate it down FDD band with TDD. Okay, such combinations we haven't seen in 4G. Like if there is downlink FDD going on, FDD, you know, frequency division duplex, you have different band in uplink and downlink. If you pick any of the uplink or downlink, even during that, you can apply TDD. So this is a possibility in 5G. So we can also use FDD, for example, in primary cell, time division duplex in small cell. Primary means macro. Macro cell, FDD, time division duplex in small cell. Generally, FDD bands are lower frequency and used for primary. Then one of the other thing which is there in 5G is distributed antenna system. You see, if you look at this building, for example, multiple floors are there. Multiple floors are there. This tower, which is 5G macro, it is sending signal to this building. One of the wireless antenna located here. From that antenna, the signal can be sent to multiple floors. That is a possibility because of the previous couple of technologies TDD, FDD used in case of 5G. You call it distributed antenna system. So multiple antennas connected via cable. You can see multiple antennas can be connected through cable here, and it is used for indoor coverage. One of the important requirement of 5G is indoor coverage, where a very large number of people or very large number of devices. I gave the example of industry also, where large number of products are there, like in one of the storerooms of Amazon. Thousands or millions of, you can say, products are there, and how they all are controlled using robot. You can have such kind of scenario. You can put a floor, you can put a antenna in a particular floor or particular region of the floor, then all antennas can be connected, which can be controlled by a macro. So that dash system is available in 5G. So sometimes RF signal is converted into digital and transmitted over fiber optical cables and converted back to RF. You call it active DAS. It is exactly happening here. You see, wireless signal is coming, it is converted back into wired signal, and then through wires or optical fibers come to this antenna. Again, it has been converted back into wireless, then it is passed to whole floor. So it is wireless, then wired, then wireless. That kind of communication is possible using distributed antenna systems. Then see, this is also new concept: simultaneous transmission and reception. Normally, when transmitters send, on that frequency we cannot receive, but that is also a possibility in 5G. You call that system in 5G full duplex. Full duplex means on the same carrier you are doing uplink communication also and downlink communication also. Okay, but how? If you look at the figure here at the extreme bottom, see, this tower is connecting, sending signal to this tower, and that signal is sent from the upper line, you can say, upper base station to base station duplex link. On the same frequency, the other direction signal can be shared through other devices, because I gave you previously that in 5G you have multi-access option, or users are connected to multiple towers. So although the both one direction, left to right communication, right to left communication, are using same frequency, but their paths are different. So this is called full duplex. That was not a possibility in 4G. It is a possibility because of massive number of macros available in 5G. Macros or small cells available in 5G. Small cells are extremely large in number in 5G compared to 4G. That's why we have infinite connectivity, right? And this interference, when this signal is passing through air, this is passing through air, although they have very small impact on nearby users. You know why they have small impact? Because they work on high frequency. Some signal working on 30 gigahertz, its existence is only few meters in this direction. So with some good, you can say, interference cancellation methods, like mentioned here, self interference cancellation method, it's a possibility that same frequency you can use for left to right communication, same frequency for right to left communication also. This is already explained. both license free and licensed access is possibility. Then in only 2 minutes, I'm going to quickly show you some of the applications. These were the applications basically we started with. Enhanced mobile broadband is one of the important application of 5G, like 4K, HK, ultra high definition video is a possibility in 5G, augmented reality, virtual reality, cloud gaming, right? All these are the possibility available in 5G. Then ultra reliable low latency communication, which includes self-driving, as I explained earlier, remote manufacturing using robotics, right? That is essential requirement, where in both the applications here, in fact all the applications here, you can see edge computing is preferred. Ultra reliable applications here. Then massive machine type communication is the other application. So three corners of this triangle, always you show 5G with such kind of triangle. In one edge you can say ultra reliable low latency communication. In other edge, other corner, you can say it is enhanced mobile broadband. In the third corner, you can say it is massive machine type communication. So these are the 3-4 areas of application. Same has been explained here in a bit detail. Then this is a, you can say, another this thing, some of the application, streaming here, virtual reality, augmented reality, hotspot, truck platooning here, because you see here the separation between the truck is almost fixed, just because they are self-driven trucks. Because of ultra low latency, it is a possibility, right? Then in vehicle infotainment, healthcare, drones, these are different applications of 5G. So this is my last slide. You can see here, overall if you look at constraints are given here, objectives in the second, you can say, elliptical shape. Then technologies, services, these are the constraints. Cost efficiency, spectrum efficiency. When 5G search started, these were the constraints. Energy efficiency, adaptability, security. Then objectives for these, end-to-end latency should be very small, right? Technologies, these are the various technologies. Cloud were used here, small cells were used, है ना? Heterogeneous networks were used, massive MIMO sharing, multi-integrated wireless, software-defined network, virtualized radio, all these were used. And finally, services are, what are the applications of 5G? You can see medical care, smart meters, big data, environment, robots, interactive HD TV, traffic, etc., enhanced mobile broadband smart. So that is all from my side related to 5G. Then I thank you all for a bit patient for 10 odd more minutes from the scheduled time. Now it's up to you, Ashi, now, and Shilpa. I'm here for answering questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your enlightened talk. Ashi, I would like to present a vote of thanks to sir. After that, I will convey the next part to the participants.
Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful session. I'm sure all the participants have learned a lot. You told us about the key features of 5G, new radio multiplexing technologies, and the challenges and gaps we'll have to face to implement 5G. I really hope you're able to bridge the gaps and implement 5G efficiently pan-India very, very soon. Thank you once again, sir.
I request participants if there are any queries, any questions, you can post either in a chat. So as per the schedule, we are closing our day 1 and we'll be meeting tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m. for session 3, day 2. And for the feedback for today's both the sessions will be shared soon, both via email as well as via WhatsApp. If further in case any query, you can contact me. Thank you all in all, and thank you, sir, for the nice interaction we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa, and thank you, participants. Uh, it was really wonderful to have you all. It was all noise-free session. I could not have any, you see, better session from colleagues. So, if you still have queries, etc., please let me know. And Shilpa, thank you. You also, Vashi also, and we'll meet tomorrow
Welcome, sir.
morning once again.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. So feedback link, as I told you, it will be shared soon by email as well as by WhatsApp. So you can fill the details. Just add your participant ID also with that. Thank you all for joining the session. So tomorrow we will be again starting at 10 a.m. So I request all of you to join 5 minutes before 10. Thank you all.